Welcome to the Dice Irae's complete series review.
Oh
I'm
shit.
Justin,
What up? I'm Logan.
and together we're Shock. As always, we were anime viewers only when it came to watching Dice Irae's. We we didn't review the last 4 episodes, but we're just doing the full series
Yeah, we're
instead.
just like, you know what? We'll watch the rest, combine it into one big old review.
So yeah,
You
not
know
just
what's
the ONA, but from
wasn't this
episode
one of
one
our first animes? It was,
on
I
this
think.
channel. Yeah,
Yeah.
first full complete
It was the
anime.
first start of an anime.
Yeah, at least with
Or
the
one
channel.
of.
Yeah,
But yeah,
we're
let's
gonna
get into it.
discuss the series and give our scores at the end of the discussion. So yeah, like we said, we're anime viewers. We don't know anything about the visual novels, so take that into account when you judge us. Because
Right.
man, all right, we've talked about this a lot. But this show was definitely
Let's
directed
talk
to.
about the story, just the story itself.
You got
So,
that right?
from are you asking for a summary?
Yeah, man, you got it.
I mean, I guess it
All right,
boils down
basically,
to a
it's
bunch of.
a
Oh no, go
world
ahead.
where there's like a god who traps everyone in an endless loop. So as things kind of go and they keep repeating their lives, they have deja vu.
Right.
And the stronger the deja vu gets, the I guess the more they remember. That's deja vu. I'm just defining deja vu at this point. But the point is, there's Reinhardt who's trying to break the cycle and make it. And whoever breaks the cycle becomes the new god, and he wants like full destruction. So he's opened up all these. I guess they're called swastikas. Basically, these points to help him get into this new. There's like several magical levels. He needs to get to the last one by opening these swastikas.
Right.
He's basically the
It
main
was pretty
character.
right. It was. I
I
mean,
To be fair, it's
um,
actually hard for us to explain the story because a lot of it was just not very well explained
it
from the
is kind of
anime.
difficult to give a summary. It's like evil guy. Pretty much, evil guy wants to, total domination. Good guy's got to stop him, right? That's what it boils down to.
Yeah. So
But the thing
Reinhardt's the
is,
main bad guy, and then I guess I feel like he ends up having more screen time at points than the main character.
right?
There's even
Like,
episodes where the main character gets pushed off to the side.
yeah. But the thing about the story is, we've said this a lot. It's just, it really felt either it was like it felt kind of sporadic. It felt like here, there, this character is important for right now. This character is no longer important. Like there were, it felt like sometimes they'd be like mysterious on purpose, which would leave a lot of confusion. Also, I mean, this is a small thing, but the how everyone had a lot of names that kind of just adds to
The
more
confusion.
stuff to remember. But I mean, that's achievable. But besides that, the story felt it was definitely directed towards VN players. VN, what would you call you play a VN?
It basically came down to Kraft, Ren, and Reinhardt. Like the
Right.
first season, we're like, all right, here's you got Ren, who's the main character, who's just way underpowered compared to all the bad guys because he just like recently awakened to his powers. You got, and the problem is they set up like a few characters like they're going to be super important, right? Like Kasumi, his friend, and Shiro. Um, Kasumi comes basically written out of the show by the time you get to ONA. She falls asleep, and then she comes back 6 episodes later.
Just as
So,
the cheerleader,
yeah,
pretty
as a
much.
cheerleader. And then when the world's reset, she's just old.
Right.
Marie didn't like her, I guess. You
It
got
was very
Shiro.
strange.
Even like, yeah, he did a couple important things, but like, he didn't really have a huge effect on the story.
Right. The story just felt either not fleshed out enough, like they didn't take their time to make sure everything was learnt properly in a comprehensive order, or they should have streamlined it more and like cut some other details to make it easier to understand. And I felt like they were in between both of those. This is coming from anime only. I'm sure if you had the visual novel, you can fill in the blanks yourself or fill in the details yourself. So it's obviously easier to understand if you come from the source material, which is what it felt like. It was
Yeah,
for source material people, which makes sense
it
because it
was
was
fan
crowdfunded.
funded. Yeah. Yeah, like you're saying, like they would have an episode of nothing but like talking and discussion, and they would like slow the pace down a lot. The next episode, they would speed up the pace and have like no talking and discussion. It'd be like full actions. And then anytime they did like talk about the story or whatever, it felt like they were keeping it in like a mystery.
Yeah,
Like they never actually tied everything together because they wanted to be like an open mystery.
right.
That's what it felt like, and it never came together. And like
So
even a few of the other characters, like there's barely like there's a couple of interesting characters. I'll give it that.
right. The story
Reinhardt,
had some issues, but the characters
Kraft.
there were a few interesting ones.
Reinhardt and Kraft, I felt like were the most interesting. Um,
Yeah, I
even
liked
I like
K.
the
K.
oh okay. Like yeah, Leonhardt. I like the three
Oh
battle
yeah, the
generals
three.
or battalion leaders. I like too, but that was like it. Like
The
Ren
thing
was
I
like a
had with
boring generic MC.
right, that's what I was about to say. The main thing I had issues with the characters was the main character just felt lackluster, and also I just felt like he won because he was the main character. Like it didn't even felt like the whole ending part where he beats
Reinhardt or
what's his name?
Machina,
Machina.
where he gets punched through his gut and it's like it's like
Right, like he just beat
I don't
him.
want to lose. And it's like
Well, like
okay,
before the ONA, it felt like there was a huge power discrepancy between these battalion leaders and Rin. Like, because Rin was like learning about like the four levels, and in 6 episodes, he becomes strong enough to fight off Reinhardt, who is leagues above his battalion leaders. It's like, how? Because Marie just magically did something? That doesn't really.
yeah,
That
that was
kind of
another one.
makes
Like
it.
Isaac was never very well explained. It was just like oh,
Right.
there's this thing named Isaac. Theresia's just yeah, Theresia and Isaac helped have a huge effect, and then you had Marie that kind of gave him the push because she didn't want to
But
be with
I mean,
Kraft.
stuff like that,
But
it doesn't feel. Well, the way it was presented, it didn't feel earned. Like, it didn't feel like the good side should have won. Because, in my opinion, all the bad guys were cooler than the good people. Like, I was like,
yeah,
they
they
look
were.
strong. They have reasons they're fighting for. The good people are just like, let's stop them. And now I'm going to power up because. And
It's
it's
just
like,
because
I
yeah,
mean, the
like
fights were cool
yeah,
themselves,
the
but the
fights were kind of cool.
logic behind the fighting, like who won and stuff, was kind of, I guess, lost.
Yeah, and some of the things that weren't like because they weren't explained well in the anime and they still had the scenes felt really odd. Like Theresia trying to rape Ren to give birth uh in the first like the third or fourth episode or whatever the show is like okay, that just kind of came out of nowhere. Uh you got like then even towards the end with her and Isaac, it's like I don't know what's quite going on here. Like she's
Right.
just
It was.
important. I don't know exactly why, but because people are saying she's important, she's important. Uh,
Yeah, that's definitely how it felt. I felt like there were a lot of people who are, hey, they're kind of important just because we say they are. So they're going to do stuff at the end. And then it's like, okay, I guess. I guess that happened because they were kind of important because I was told they were, but I really wasn't explained fully. So yeah, the characters were, I will say, all the bad characters or
they
evil characters
they were like
were a lot more
developed.
interesting.
Yeah, they were like actually like developed characters,
Right.
whereas the good guys were never like developed. I felt like besides like Kay, she felt developed.
Yeah.
Like we saw her story, and she actually felt like a good character and understood what she was fighting for. Ren's just fighting because he wants to stop them. It's like, okay,
I guess
man,
Shiro's fighting because he's
he's sick of
friends with
deja
Ren.
vu. Like, oh, okay, that's interesting. You're just tired of deja vu. Okay.
Yeah, that I feel like the deja vu thing wasn't explained too well. Just the whole. I mean, I guess I can understand you're sick of feeling the same thing, but like, I don't know. It's hard to even like. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just weird.
Um. Yeah, I mean, like the animation was fine at times, but trying to think of like other categories to jump into because that was mostly like story characters.
I
Music was all
mean,
right, I guess.
music didn't really stand
It
out.
didn't
I'd
stand out.
say animation didn't really stand out. There were some weird things here and there, but that's okay. It wasn't anything like awful.
Yeah, I mean, animation is nothing I really jump into.
It was just the more. It was more so the story and characters that were not fully fleshed out, I guess. I mean, there's not much else to touch on it that I can think of.
No, not really at this point. Really, what we're saying in the day was all a confusing mess for anime viewers only.
Right. It felt jumbled.
It definitely did. But I think that's. I don't think
I
there's
mean,
anything too much to talk about, so we can just jump into scores.
all right, sure. Um, you want me to go? I can
I
go.
can go first if you want.
All right.
Doesn't matter. I'm sure yours will probably be the same. I'm gonna say a 4. That's mostly what we gave every episode too, but it was just the story was just a huge mess. Not very many likable characters. Like the main characters should be more likable than what they were. Um, Also, we spent so much time with Kasumi or whatever her name was in the beginning for her to just be written out and be a completely irrelevant character. Um, she never really added anything, so she just got knocked out every time there was a chance for her to get knocked out. Yeah, it was just weird storytelling. It wasn't the pace was just all over the place. So
Right. Yeah, I 4. That seems about right. Especially anime only. I'm sure things would make sense VN wise, but the pacing was an issue. There was like you already said this, but there was episodes where it felt fast paced, but then the next episode it'd be 12 minutes of talking and walking, and it's like,
yeah, there were
all right,
actually little scenes like
yeah, like
even in the ONA
the
there,
first episode of the ONA,
the father and
the father
Ren
and Ren talking
walked
and
for
walking.
like 12 minutes straight.
It was a long time, so it's hard to. I mean, that specifically, it's hard to like absorb all the information when it's just walking and you have to like read everything and like don't even remember half the names. But I mean, I already said it felt not as fleshed out. It felt like specifically designed for VN people, so anime only didn't get like the full story. Character wise, I didn't like Ren really. I
He was
just
just so generic.
right, and I had issues with like the final fighting, not the fights themselves. The fights themselves I
Oh yeah, that
enjoyed.
was another thing to touch on. Like a lot of the fights, it would cut away during the fights,
That's what I
and
was
it
about
would
to
come
say.
back, and the fight would be over.
Right, they specifically chose not to show some of the fight because in most shows, like if you cut away from the fight and come back, it's pretty much from where the fight left off. This one was like for example, the eye patch guy found Ren in the middle of the street, and it's like, oh, dun dun dun, they're about to fight. Then the next episode, it cuts back, and then they're done. It's like, okay, so they
And
fought,
even when
or
like they first came against Reinhardt towards the end, like the last or episode or the one before, they're like, "Oh, we meet," and then cuts away and it comes back. Like Ren, Shiro, and Gay are just all beaten up, like dying, and it's like, "Oh, I'm glad we
right?
got to see all of that."
Yeah, it was. The ending just didn't feel very earned because all the defeats, the only kind of believable winner would be Kay versus what Eleanor.
Yeah,
That'd be the only one that I could maybe be convinced to believe like she could pull off the victory, but Shiro winning just felt like he shot the guy a couple times and it suddenly was strong after the
Yeah,
girl came
his
back.
bullets finally worked.
Right, and then Rin somehow beating this literal god pretty much with I don't know how. It just yeah. So I'd say a below average anime experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it.
That's it for the review.
Spiel time.
As
Spiel time.
as always, what isn't confusing is how easy it is to hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell to be notified every time we upload. Comment down below. Let us know what you thought of the episode, or not episode, the show. What you didn't like about it, anything like that. Streamer at twitch.tv, links in the description below, along with social media. And until next time, peace out.
See ya.